Hey guys, how's it going tonight? So tonight we got a bunch of stuff to do on the work plate, so I am gonna dive right in. So I've got one model I need to put together, but before I put it together I want to give a trick to putting this stuff together. Because one thing that I do is I'll use super glue for big parts. Get this stuff put together. But there actually is a cool thing that you can do. Let me get the camera pointed here where I want it. How many out there use this wonderful Tamiya extra thin modeling cement? It's really nice, especially when you're doing model kits. It's thin, it doesn't get gloppy, and it gives a really good adhesion. And I use this a lot on my Warhammer prints. But there is a cool thing that you can do with this, and this bottle is going to be the next victim in it. How many of you guys have heard of sprue goo? And essentially, you know, these wonderful things that your models come on? Well, they can be useful, other than being just thrown away or recycled. Please tell me you recycle them. just recycle them. It's important. But what you can do is make sprue goo. And what it is a mixture of those sprues and Tamiya glue. And it actually creates a plastic type adhesive using its own plastic. So what the cool thing is, especially Warhammer sprues, this works really good on, because these are pressed in ABS. And what I've done is I've chopped them up into itty bitty bits. And all you got to do is have about half a bottle of the Tamiya glue left, and just, some people are probably going to cringe at this, but just throw them in. Now, I have two places where I assemble models. I have two desks, basically, one downstairs and one up here. So I need a bottle at both desks. Now, I pre-cut the sprues earlier so they would fit in the jar. But basically, this is all you got to do. And the cool thing that will happen here is the Tamiya glue will actually melt the sprues. Into basically a liquid state, which I just kind of need to shift them around in there a little bit. So basically, the Tamiya glue, and you can already see it changing color. It's already starting to break them down. It's going to melt this in about 5 or 6 hours into basically a very thin liquid goop. And what's really cool is, especially if you do things like Warhammer, model kits, different things like that, is that melted plastic, when you actually glue a figure together with it, it'll actually do a really cool thing to fill in your seam line. Because you're basically welding it together with its own material. When that dries, you've adhered it with its own material, which is really cool. And also, with it being that extra thin cement, when it comes to like seams, it can be a really neat plastic filler without having to come in with the 3D printing pen, because, well, they're not exactly the most narrowest thing in the world. And also, sometimes you just need a very fine line to fill these in. Essentially, I am going to start working on, if you guys haven't noticed, this is the Spirit of Fire from Halo Wars that I've printed out. And we're going to start getting it assembled and get it ready for primer and paint. But the sprue goo is going to be kind of important in the process. Now, for the bulk of this, I'm just going to use super glue. If this tube even has any left, I don't know if it does. I think I ran this one out. Yeah, I did. Okay. He needs to go find a trash can. Don't worry, I have plenty. And by plenty, I think I have plenty of super glue. What do you guys think? I think I got enough on there. It's a bad habit I have. Every time I go to Dollar Tree, I grab a pack. Because that's where my preferred place to get super glue is. I'm just going to put a good layer on there. Close this guy up because we'll need them later on. And I'm going to reach back here. Sorry, Mercy, you got to move. And I am going to get in my clamp door. So we'll get the front of her on here. We'll get her lined up to where it looks right. Then what I'm going to do is basically take a set of clamps. I'm going to press on there. And I don't know if you guys can hear it in the background. I do apologize. The wind here is going crazy behind me. So, because the wind's just outside that glass door. So I'm going to get my clamps on here. Just so I know that she's lined up. And we're going to get a good adhesion. So that one will go through pretty quick. And you guys can see just the level of detail in that model is great. And just looking at the engine section, I mean, you look down the end of those thrusters. I mean, that's just gorgeous how this model came out. And this is probably going to be the hardest part to... this one was the hardest part to print because it had way more supports. And it's just narrow at the beginning and then gets wide with the engine. So I'm curious to see how a reprint of this I'm doing is going to come out. But that's neither here nor there. But back to where I was talking about with sprue goo. And honestly, by the time the stream ends, a lot of this will be melted. But you can already see the Tamiya glue just melting down that sprue. And I actually cut way too much. I thought I was going to need more than that because I felt like when I was filling this bottle, I thought it was never going to end. It's never enough, never enough, never enough. But it was. So once that dries up, we're going to come back with the sprue goo and do some seaming here in a little while. But that's got to dry first. And it's also nice if you've got like a thin area in your model, stuff like that, you can use the sprue goo to just kind of fill in. Especially, like I said, in places that the 3D printing pin is just too big. It could be a very narrow spot, like for example, on the front of this. Actually, I'm going to grab a second part of that. Hang on one second. So it could be like a hard to reach place that this can be very good, like down in here, or just where you can't get the needle into, or you just can't sand. It can be a really good filler in a tight spot. So definitely something to kind of keep in mind as you use this. So, and quite honestly, you're recycling. So a lot of people, disappointingly, throw these away because they just don't know how useful they are. And they have a lot of good use. And for example, actually, I forgot about this. This model broke on me earlier when I was starting to paint it. It came undone. And I need to glue the tread back on. And I'm going to use, oh, looky there, I broke the gun too. Even better. We're going to use the sprue goo. Because essentially this is melted, this is glue with filament in there, with the plastic in there. So basically it doesn't take much to just get it in there. And that kind of goes down. And just get your model part back in place. And what's cool is it's even can help fill the seam with that plastic. Unfortunately, the only thing I don't like about Tamiya is it does take a little bit of time to dry. But if you guys can't tell, I've been working on my Death Guard army. Trying to finish it, actually. I've been a little bit on the warpath about getting some of my paint jobs done here. And just time has not been my ally. that one back in place. And then we'll come back in here. Quite honestly, where this goo is going, I'm not too worried about it. Because, one, this is Death Guard army. Their stuff is supposed to look worn down, rotten, blister infested, gross. Is how their stuff is supposed to look. So a little glue out of place isn't terrible. It's one of the things I love about the Orcs and Chaos and some of the other armies in Warhammer is you don't have to have them looking perfectly prim and proper. So you guys can see that sprue goo went in there, and what's really cool is around that gun you can see that it's actually created a filler right here. There's no real seam anymore because it's adhesing with its own plastic, which is really cool. So we'll set that guy aside to dry. So what's everybody been working on out there? Anything cool or interesting been going on print wise or model wise, or anything fun going on? So we'll keep checking back on this because you guys can hopefully see in, I don't know if you can see in the jar or not, but it's starting to really start already breaking them down into a slop. And actually I'll probably add more sprue as it breaks that down. So kind of a fun thing. So one model I've been working on. Anybody tell me what this one is? Any diehard Trekkies been watching the newer stuff lately? So it's definitely a newer ship that's only been in one show so far. So basically this is a futuristic version of the Excelsior class. Redubbed the Odina class. If anybody has been watching Star Trek Lower Decks, that's where this one came from. Came out really well. The only thing that didn't go well was the shuttle bay back here. You can see a seam line back there where I had to glue it back on. But definitely a different look of a ship. It's an Excelsior class. It's definitely been modded and changed. But it's definitely fun. So be expecting to see this one coming up on the channel soon. Basically, I got some sanding to do. I got some cleanup here on the saucer I need to do. And then we'll get her primed. Speaking of priming, I want to talk about airbrushes a little bit. So everybody's been out there. You guys have seen a little bit of my airbrush work. Not a whole bunch. Get my rest of my clamps put away here. So we're not going to use those now. But, you know, it's one of those things. Airbrushes, the compressor can be big and bulky, and sometimes it just doesn't fit your shop, right? Well, I want to point out an air compressor that I actually was sent to try. And this guy runs, I'm actually going to have to unplug it here. So, for the compressor and the airbrush, this guy runs about $65. This is by Gosher. And it comes with their airbrush, 6-foot hose, this, and this right here is a 30 PSI compressor. So getting into airbrushing, even small scale, this thing total on Amazon is $65 for all of this. And all I undid was the power cord. It is a little loud. They did a good job with the design on this one. I love the that we've got actually nice coned rubber feet. This guy is actually a little powerful. The first spot I put it on my desk here, it vibrated itself. It tried to vibrate off the desk. So that was really neat. I do plan on putting a valve and a quick connect for the brush right here. So, but if you're just getting started and don't want to spend $130, $140 for a compressor, if you're not even sure you're going to like airbrushing, give this guy a try, because I've tried out other portable ones like this Kibby, and I wasn't impressed. It was underpowered. Now, if you're wanting to do like your first layer, your base coat, the Kibby does a good job. The brush part's actually in here. I'll actually put this together. For a good rechargeable airbrush, the Kibbe does a good job for like a flat base layer. So I'll actually get this one put together. It's relatively quiet, and it did a good job for a base layer. But getting in here and getting into actual detailing, this guy it doesn't have, I can't regulate it, and it is a little bit underpowered. So be prepared to take your time. But this one, I love that it's no cords, no hoses, nothing. Everything's right here. You can put a hose between the brush and the box here, but it is actually a lot of fun. So a lot of times, like big projects, I take the project out in the garage with this guy, and I'll go to town for the base coat, and then come back in and start doing detail layers with this one or my master brush set downstairs in my bigger area. And I also have it where I do. I've got one of the boxes downstairs with the air pulls the air through a filter as I paint and blows it out of the house. So this is up here mainly just for short detailing, is what this one's for. Small details. It's not for doing big base layers. Basically, this guy is just for when I need him. But this one is going to be for detailing. And this brush is actually, I may swap my brush downstairs with my my other brush. But if you're interested in getting an airbrushing, this guy is only $65 for a complete basic starter set. And I do think it is a really good investment. They did a really good job with it. Like I said, this guy's a little high powered. But I figured out a good way to weigh him down and not move. It is a little loud. Keep that in mind. It's not an ultra quiet, but what compressor really honestly is quiet. So I do the brush on method, Dragon Red 05 with the UV resin. I have seen articles. I've never tried it because honestly the thought of putting UV resin through my airbrush kind of horrifies me. UV resin is extremely sticky, and making sure you get it out of your gun, even dosed down with IPA alcohol, even at 90% alcohol, it still makes me wonder if stuff is going to be in there without completely dismantling your airbrush every time you use it. It's kind of I don't have a good answer because quite honestly, I'm not brave enough to try it. I don't want to damage my tools. So I haven't gone that route. I usually do the UV resin, baby powder, actually talc powder is what you want, and then brush it on. That way too, as I'm brushing it on, I don't have to worry about it running. Because basically I don't want runs. I'm putting it on to smooth it. So I don't want it to run. And with anything, even if you do apply UV resin, I still recommend a light sanding before you prime, to give the primer something to hold on to. And actually that's something I'm working on right now. Where is this? I made this for my wife. If some of you guys may recognize the movie this is from Mulan. But I need to do a little bit of light sanding before I prime. And just kind of working with primers and that. I'm learning with resin that the Vallejo surface primer is actually, a lot of times they say the spray can primer is actually the best. The Army Painter primer, it just bubbled and chipped off. It didn't give me a great adhesion to it. Luckily for me, models like this, if you guys do have just bad paint jobs and you don't need to throw the model away, what you can do is Harbor Freight has an ultrasonic cleaner. They're about $70, and if you go to Dollar Tree, there's a chemical called LA Totally Awesome. It's $1, and you put it in there, you put your model on there, and it'll eat the paint off the model, and you can go back to painting again and start over. So it is kind of a neat way. You may have to run it through several times, and do not do it with the heat because it'll melt your model. But it's just one of those things. It's something that you can do to kind of get a model back to the starting point and start again. So you don't have to throw a model away just because of a bad paint job. And none of us want to keep layering paint on top of paint. Then you lose the actual detail of the model, and that just kind of sucks when that happens. So, but this is definitely if you're thinking about getting into airbrushing, this is definitely a really good investment from my point of view. Nice, an Any Chiron, nice. It's going to be the Odyssey class. What is the Odyssey class? Dyson Science Destroyers. Huh. So, actually, they sell quick disconnects that can go right in there. I got mine off Amazon. I just haven't had time to do it. I've only had this guy for about a week that it arrived here. And I was really impressed with what they sent in the kit. It came with different nozzles, replacement needles, which you don't normally find. And one of the problems I have with ordering airbrushes online that just really irks me is they will send it and I will get a bent needle right off the bat. That just... because I ordered a Badger one time and I sent it right back. The needle was bent. There were no replacement needles. They send replacement needles, different size nozzles. These guys did a really good job for $65 of giving you a lot and letting you have... Oh, the Enterprise F. Okay, you're in the Star Trek Online world here. Okay, got it. I haven't played much of that game, but there are a lot of cool looking ships in there. Oh, the pot up here is a quick disconnect. That's nice. This one's just a nice screw on. And it comes with multiple different... Actually, I'll show you guys. What am I thinking? The box is right next to me. So it came with cleaning brushes. Like I said, a 0.5 millimeter and a 0.2. And I love the pots. I mean, it's got really nice sized pots. The wrenches are there. It came, as I said, with the 0.2 needle. So it came with a spare needle, and then also with this guy. So this is from my opinion, this didn't come with it. I just threw it in here. From my opinion, this is a really awesome brush set to start with, and the price point was almost perfect. I've got a bunch of these downstairs already, so I'm not too worried about getting these out. I plan to keep them actually up here at this desk, not down in my my work area downstairs. So I will throw a link in the description of the video for this guy. If you guys are interested in getting one, definitely go out there, help me out, use the Amazon links in the channel, because that does help get money in for the channel. So because I am an Amazon affiliate, so that does help out quite a bit. But we'll get this guy put aside. And the other thing that did strike me, they sent a 6-foot hose. I'm not used to getting compressors and having a massive hose. I just loved it. So I am kind of curious, Dragon, to hear how your Enterprise F comes out next week. If it's done. That sounds like it's going to be a fun print. I may have to look for that model. All right, we got that guy put away. The camera will refocus in a minute. All right, so this should be coming right along. Super glue goes pretty good. But like I said, with seam lines, like right in here, that's going to be impossible to get anything really in there to fill. Well, Sprue to the rescue here. And again, another part of the detail I love, and I still have some picking out to do, but it even had the drop ships in their berths here on the side. I mean, that was just an awesome detail that they put into this model. The detail level here is just beautiful. You got the deck guns, the bridge, the observations deck at the bottom. It really did come out really well, and the paint job on this is going to be a lot of fun, because when you go in to paint this one, it's mostly black, which is going to be kind of a cool thing. So, but let's get in here and get some filling going on with the sprue goo. Because basically, we can just brush it right into the parts. And I'll probably come back with some Tamiya or some other fillers too and do these bigger gaps. But this is just kind of a neat way, because we're bonding it with its own material, which is good. We're using basically ABS to create a bond in here, which one is just going to make the model stronger. Then what I may do, once this is assembled and had some time to sit, I may come in with some liquid resin and brush it in to some of the larger spots to get rid of the seam, get rid of the lines. But basically, by putting that in there, it's going to actually increase the strength even around the super glue, which is going to be pretty cool. And like in here, I'll come in with some Tamiya and probably use the brush method and actually just brush it into the same line instead of actually just going across and squeezing, because that's going to be hard to do with all these seams, and I don't want to lose my detail. So, but sprue goo is pretty fun, especially like I said, if you're doing this the Warhammer stuff, and you're putting your Space Marines and stuff together, the sprue goo can be a big help. And even from the start of the video, you can see it's turning gray, it's turning into a blob, and actually we're doing so good in there. I want to add some more sprues. Try to stick with the little pieces. Get a good amount of sprue goo down in there. Alright, so let's get the third part going on here. Gotta have engines, right? And just in case you're new here and you're watching this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join us as we do all kinds of stuff on this channel. Today just happens to be a little bit of model assembly, because I've actually got another one I need to put together. Which super glue was I using? And one I need to work on a fix for. And we may even do some slicing tonight if we've got time. Get those seams all nice and lined up. This model is, I believe, remember right, this is about 23 inches long from stem to stern. We'll let that super glue dry and we'll start having some fun with it. Hopefully by next stream, I moved it too much. Hopefully by next stream I'll have her in primer. We can start really doing some painting. Now, wait a minute. The resin putty. So the resin putty, I use that as a filler for most of my prints. Ooh, hey, Superstar Destroyer. I'm assuming you're talking about this stuff. Yeah, I haven't missed that much. Too much want to fast, other than me assembling the Spirit of Fire from Halo Wars. And talking about sprue goo. I always kind of giggle when I say sprue goo because I think of Grogu. I don't know. I'm just kind of silly that way. But basically, we've got the Spirit of Fire sitting here drying. hopefully have a really good model there to put on the stand after a while. Now, I don't know if anybody here in the stream tonight has asked this, but in my videos, you guys have noticed there's kind of a brown mech sitting on the shelf. Has anybody noticed that one before? Because I know I've had people just randomly ask me what it was. And yeah, this is the 20 millimeter. So this, the Vallejo plastic putty is not a liquid resin dragon. It is actually kind of like caulking. But it's great for doing with seam lines, especially the way they do this with their needle. You don't need a curing light for this. This will dry on its own. So it's really good stuff if that's the same stuff we're talking about. So want to fast with that bright silver, what you can do, and I'm actually getting ready to do this. I'm getting ready to do this with, I'm redoing the Mandalorian helmet. And what you can do is with your bust, if you want kind of that like the Mandalorian armor metal look, what you can do, and even with the chrome paint that you've done, what you can do is go, it's graphite powder. You can get it out on Amazon, you brush it into the paint, and it can give that metallic look. So it's a really cool thing. I need to redo my Mandalorian helmet because I just did chrome paint and I hate it. I don't know if I'm going to reprint it or if I'm going to strip that one. That one kind of, I just don't, there's so much to it that I don't want to mess with it. So I may do another print and show off this method, but you can do a gloss black base and then come in with the graphite and give that metallic look. That may do better than it turning out silver. But I've actually seen it too where they've come in with the bright silver and brought in the graphite. So it doesn't have to be a black base, but you can bring in that graphite to really kind of dull down that bright silver. So it is a great way to do that. I just can't decide if I'm going to do it. Yeah, it's worth a shot. I mean, like I said, worst case scenario, guys, an ultrasonic cleaner and some LA Totally Awesome will take these paint right off. Oh, the Alka Chrome and Candy Purple. I'm curious to see that. I hope when you're done you'll share that. You'll send me an email and share that with me, Dragon. And one of the things too, guys, I don't know if you have one of these, a handy tool when you airbrush is the cleaning pot. So this guy is heavenly. You basically load your cleaner into your hopper, you put the brush in here, and you pull the trigger. And the cool thing about this is it's filtered. So as the air comes out, it gets filtered, but all that nastiness, if you're using, anything but water, all goes in this jar, and then you can dispose of it. So these run about $15 on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. But I love this because I can just put my airbrush in there and just pull the trigger and let it clean itself out. So it is a handy dandy tool. These are like 15, 16 bucks, I think. And this is good old glass. So it's a handy tool for cleaning out your brushes. Especially if you're painting, you want to get a color out real quick and add another color. This guy can be really, really handy. And it does come with spare filters. And this grommet here, it's a rubber grommet, so it'll actually seal around so the stuff doesn't splash back at you. It's a really handy tool. I'll put a link in the description for this one as well. And then if you're airbrushing a lot, my base is 3D printed, but I actually own one of these downstairs. I just 3D printed our base. Is these sticks with the gator clips. They can be real handy for small parts and then airbrushing and not getting it all over your hands. It is a real handy tool. I just printed a second base because I wanted one up here and I had a bunch, and it came with like 25 of these, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, that'll just go upstairs, and when you're not working on it, you just throw it in, put it in here and let it dry. So it's a handy tool. The clips are great. I've seen people just take sticks with electrical tape and take the cheap gator clips from Dollar Tree and do the same thing. But I think the kit I bought was like $19. So it's definitely handy. And of course, any tool, if you're a model builder, clamps are good things. I'll put a link in the description for the ones that I use because I've got various sizes out there. But let's just kind of check in on the sprue goo. It's turning into more. It's melting. That's awesome. So, because as you guys can see, we worked on this tank earlier. It has definitely sealed it back in. There's no gap, which is great because the sprue goo, the ABS in there around it filled it in. And that guy is drying together nice and hard. So, hopefully I'll be able to get back to painting on him soon. I just put the black silver onto it today. With Death Guard green, and then I'm coming back with the highlighting colors and stuff. Then I'll come back with the rust and corruption on it and start doing some chipping and stuff like that to it. So Death Guard is one of many armies involved in my my Warhammer addiction. Yeah, the cleaning pots are really nice, man. So I paint with acrylics. So a lot of times I just run water through my brush. I don't even use the paint thinner. And since most of my paints are all acrylic, I usually just water them down. I don't tend to do paint thinner. One, I don't want the smell. I have severe allergies, so water is perfect for me. But when I say water, distilled or purified, don't use tap water. So keep that in mind when you do this. Tap water with all the chemicals that come in it, like chlorine and all that stuff that your city or that may put in your water, it can actually react with your acrylic paint and give you completely disastrous results. So make sure you're getting yourself next time you're at the store, get yourself a gallon of distilled water or purified water. Distilled is my preference, so you don't have any of that chemical in there reacting with your paint. Some people like using IPA alcohol and use that to thin it down. But honestly, I just use water and I just clean with water. I'll just have honestly. So the Vallejo paint bottles and that, I just bought a bag of 50 empty bottles of these dropper bottles, and I use that to mix my paints in with the thinner and stuff, and then I pour them in my brush, and I keep one of those handy to keep pushing water through my airbrush. So the one I talked about is, well, helps if I show it here. You guys have probably seen this one on my shelf. I started painting, stopped, needed to get back to. It's got a Mad Cat underneath, but depending on how tonight goes, we may do some slicing on a couple models that I've found. So we may get there. Kind of hope we do, but we will see. And super glue has taken hold. And there you go. We have a very detailed model of the Spirit of Fire. This is an FDM print. I use the CR10 V2s. Actually, here's the fun of it. CR10 V2, CR10 V2, CR10 V2, V3. So I had 3 printers do this all. I had this done in about a day and a half with 3 printers. This part took the longest because it was the largest section. So this one is definitely gonna be a fun paint job and easy cleanup, and we'll pull in one of my handy dandy stands. And the cool thing, ironically, the model did not come with it, but it's built for a stand, but it doesn't come with it. So the model maker didn't put it in there. And a link will be in the description to this model, guys. So if you want to try printing it yourself, I'm putting it out there for you to find it nice and easy. But all in all, it went together really well. 3 sections. Honestly, it was an easy print. So it came out really, really, really well. So kind of keep that in mind as you're kind of going through this. Some prints can be a bear, pain in the butt, but some prints can be relatively actually easy. And this one was first time. I threw it on there with my default settings, and it printed the first time. I mean, there's a little bit of seam work, but there's always seam work. Yeah, I did a Medusa pattern Stormbird a while ago. It was a fun print. I need to revisit it though. I need to slice that up into pieces and do a better job with it. But for what it was, it worked for what I was after. But definitely need to slice it up and kind of do some better work. But one of the things too, I'm going to talk about this a little bit. A lot of people have kind of been really bashing FDM for its quality, for what it can do for detail. And guys, you can get some massive detail out of FDM if you take your time. Even you may need to even slow your printer down. And by getting massive detail, so this was painted by my father, but I'll put it up here. But this model is all FDM. I printed it, and he painted it. And there's some flaws in it, like this chair right here. Will I ever print this one again? No. Never. I won't even do a video on it. This was such a nightmarish print for me that I won't ever touch it again. But you can do really nice work with FDM. I mean, the model sitting right in front of me shows it. We've got this Enterprise E that I put together that has really beautiful detail. It's got a couple flaws, especially right here in the where it comes into the deflector dish that I'm not happy about. But all in all, you can do fantastic detail on a small scale. I would say this is probably around 1/1000, maybe 1/850 scale. But it's just kind of one of those things. I just took this off the printer today, where I'm going to move the Spirit of Fire out of here because we assembled it. I'll do my post-op work on it later. So I'm going to move that out of the way. But again, we come back to the detail with FDM. Look who's back. And next Friday, I'm actually releasing the video on this one. And her sister ship, the Imperial version. But just the sheer level of detail that you get in these channels of that infrastructure is just amazing to me. How I was able to get that to print. And I didn't do much to this model. Even back here in the engines, the detail level is fantastic. And I've loved... Initially, I didn't love working on this model. But then I started working on it a lot more, getting into it, and then I printed the two others. And once I got everything kind of put together, this model just came together, and it is beautiful. I've got a lot of work to do in this midsection yet, and then I've got to get these line accents with some of the panel line paints. But all in all, this came together really well. All right. So, kind of some other stuff I've been messing around with. I'm getting more and more into my resin printers. So I've got 4 downstairs, but this came out of my VoxLab Aquila just the other day. And you guys can see, this is still, it's only been cured, I haven't primed, but just the detail that it picks up is just beautiful. And this is all one piece. The guns did break off, I had to glue them back on, but it happens. But this is the VoxLab Proxima, sorry, that I did that one with. But I mean, just the level of detail you can get in one print is beautiful. So been kind of working on the Boba Fett's. Well, this is just a Mandalorian. But, I mean, just the detail that you can get into with resin as well works really well, but resin is messy. And it gets a little bit fun. Then, you know, we really get into it. X-Wing game size TIE Defender. With some pretty spectacular detail when you get looking really close at it. Probably be some reels over on Instagram of that about these coming out pretty soon. But it's kind of one of those things, it's always something to keep in mind. I have been working on trying to remake Micro Machines. They need to bring that back. But this Nebula class, for some reason, the superstructure here didn't come together. But, I mean, just the level of detail that you can get in miniature is fantastic. So, I'm running 4 downstairs right now. I have the Creality LRD002, which is just a workhorse of a printer, of a resin printer. The Voxlab Proxima, I've been loving that. That thing is just a workhorse too. After I figured out the Creality Halo 1 software issue, that thing is a beast. I have had nothing but good luck with that printer. The one that I've been running and I've been struggling with, and I've been going through Facebook groups and different things and Reddit and different things, I'm still trying to zone in my Photon Mono X. That printer... it has been a level of heartburn for me with that printer. But once I find my settings and I get everything dialed in right, I'm almost there to where I'm getting a good print. If you saw my Instagram post today, it didn't go well for the Refit Enterprise. It really didn't go well. But it's kind of one of those things. Kind of keep that in mind as you guys go through this. When you're wanting to figure out what you want to print, that's where you got to go and look at what you're doing. So... And Dragon, that's a great opinion right there. I'm glad that you're willing to concede to both because, and go check out the video on Starship Troopers, the Roger Young, because when I printed that ship, there were parts that were just too small and too detailed for me to do with an FDM printer. I really tried, and it came out horribly. But the cool part was the fact that I can combine a resin print with an FDM print is great. Now, one of the things, too, with resin to keep in mind is glues. Super glue is going to be your friend there. The Tamiya glue, it ain't going to work. The Tester's glue, it ain't going to work. Stay away from Gorilla Glue if you're doing models at all, because that's just wrong. Super glue is going to be your friend with anything resin. So, kind of keep that in mind. I had to learn that the hard way. But I learned it. That's what's important. So kind of keep that in mind as you go through that you've got really good paints to work with. So definitely a thing. So well, I'll tell you what, WannaFast, if you send me an email and I get my settings dialed in, I will send you my settings. And what I'm learning about the Photon Mono X is settings. The settings, the default settings that they give you for like Shinto Box and their own slicer that they have are way off. They are nowhere near where they should be to print with. So make sure you contact me, because I am getting so close to having mine dialed in, and it will probably help you out. And one of the things too, out there on Reddit and a few other places, they actually have a reference sheet, because it depends on what resin you're using. Right now, I thought it was my Ilugu resin was the problem, so I'm using the Anycube. I actually bought Anycubic's resin to try to get the printer to work. And I've gotten prints out of it before. And this one specifically, this came out of the Photon Mono X as one piece. But unfortunately, it's kind of just been one of those things. I had a leak. My screen protector did not help, and I had to replace the LCD, and that's what I'm working on. So, hey Ken, how's things going? Checking in. Anycubic Viper. Oh, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that one. I have not played with that printer. Yeah, the brand of resin matters, because each brand is, some are thicker than others, some are thinner. Like, to me, the Anycubic is very watery compared to the Ilugu resin. So it's kind of one of those things to kind of keep in mind. Yeah, Ken, that's the biggest problem a lot of people say about resin. It's just the mess. And, I'll agree. It takes a lot more to resin print, especially if you do it the right way. I mean, just the nitrate gloves. you're going through, it's an expense. The resin is more expensive than filament. So my recommendation, if you're going to cut your teeth in 3D printing at all, start with filament. Then go over to resin. Learn about the slicer. Learn about all this stuff, because filament, you're only working with heat. And the printers have great safeguards to keep from catching on fire and stuff like that. So definitely it's one of those things. Filament printers are a great way to start with FDM before you move to SLA. And that's exactly how I cut my teeth. Is I love filament printing. It's easy most of the time. Sometimes we all have printers that are that nightmare printer. I've got one being one right now. Matter of fact, I'm checking on it and it's broken. The print has failed, so I gotta cancel a print real quick. There we go. Sometimes they work great, sometimes they just don't. So yep, the wash and cure station is one of the best things you can invest in with resin. So that is definitely a huge one. I use the Anycubic Wash and Cure Plus because I have the Photon Mono X. The Plus is the only one of the few that can actually handle large prints. Otherwise, I was dipping it, turning it over, dipping it the other way. So wow, only 2 fails. You're ahead of the game. Yeah, resin now, the resin that we use in the UV resin, one of the important things, guys, keep in mind just for safety, if you're using, and this varies by some of the brands, if you're using UV resin, I do recommend gloves. Nitrate, don't do latex. You're gonna have a bad day with latex. But if you don't wash your hands after you've worked with your resin, either you're gonna get it in your eyes, which is gonna be bad, or it is gonna irritate your skin. A lot of people, like Dragon, you're saying you've worked around it for years. You've built up callus and a tolerance to us for like me. It does irritate my skin if I leave it on my skin too long. And no one wants a chemical burn. You guys saw me up here using Voxlab resin. I use them for the brush on stuff. One, because that bottle's transparent, but it mixes in really well with the talc for me to brush on and do smoothing with. So that is my preferred one for brushing on. But yeah, doing resin, a wash and cure station is definitely the way you want to go. So, I mean, a filament printer, you buy the printer, that's it, and filament, that's it. A resin printer, there is a lot more to the game. You need the printer, you either need a tank or something to be able to have denatured alcohol or IPA alcohol to wash off your print, and then you got to be able to cure it. So you're either setting it out in the sun, or you're using a cure light, or just buying the wash and cure station just solves the big problem, which is really cool. Yeah, one thing I do love about UV resin is I'm not mixing 2 chemicals together to create the resin. That always just kind of drove me nuts, was making sure I measured them out right so I got the resin right. Had a few boo-boos doing that in the past, but kind of one of those things. It is a neat thing, and you guys can see now too. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you can see the sprues are definitely breaking down more. They're turning more into a liquid. It's starting to really adhere to the brush. So sprue goo, especially for like small models, Warhammer models, you can see it on the brush there. That's the Tamiya glue mixed with the sprue. Gives just a great adhesive, especially if you've got like gaps that you're trying to fill in and stuff like that. So, and we were using that earlier on this wonderful tank because I had to fix the treads and we had to fix this gun. It is a good way to let the glue naturally fill in, and the sprue itself to fill in and get rid of gaps. And honestly, you're more welding together than you are just gluing it together at that point. Yeah, now these days this is just cured. I can handle it. It's not going to irritate me. Of course, it has been been through a denatured alcohol bath, but yeah, it doesn't faze me at that point. Once it's cured, it's cured. It's good. So, all right, guys. So here comes the question: do we want to slice a model, or do I want to paint? Looking for votes here, guys. Let's get it in the chat. So if I slice, it's going to be probably a Mech Warrior model I need to slice and get started printing. Or it's going to be, I'm probably going to pick on that Warhammer stuff and do some painting. And probably these D&D figures I need to finish up. So what are your guys' thoughts? Or, I guess, I could bring him up here and start painting on him too. It's been a while. This was done on a CR10, just so you guys know too. So he was done exactly like that. You guys all went quiet when I asked you a question. I'm more inclined to slice, but so we got to vote for paint. We got to vote for slice. Yeah, Ken, sprue goo is a great thing, and you're just reusing the sprue material that you have. So I mean, it's just these sprues cut up. Specifically, I like the Warhammer sprues. So you just cut them up, take half a bottle of Tamiya extra thin, and pop them in there and wait 5 or 6 hours, and you got sprue goo. So no, Ken, the Warhammer is not printed. Those are actual model kits. So I do model kits on here as well. I don't. So one of the reasons why I try to stay away from Warhammer specifically is just copyright. And honestly, I do try to play Warhammer. So I don't want to use proxies. I want the actual models. So I do actually invest in them. Just like, honestly, these Star Wars models you guys see me print. Well, guess what? I buy models too. Matter of fact, do I have a Star Wars model up here? No, I don't have any at my desk up here right now, but I do buy Star Trek models. I buy all kinds of stuff. Because one of the past streams we were putting Voyager back there. Where's Voyager? So we were putting Voyager here together. That Klingon ship is purchased. But like these down here, Babylon 5, that's a print. The Pegasus, we've worked on her. The Star Fury, we worked here on the channel. Those are all prints. So, and it looks like Slice is winning. So, let's slide over here. And get my mouse in the right spot. And yet they 3D print their own stuff. And have gotten caught doing it. So, whoops. Hang on a second. That's not the right screen. I should have checked this before we started. There we go. All right, do you guys see Kira? So, I don't know where you guys buy your Games Workshop stuff, but I'm going to recommend a store here. I don't normally do this, but I love going to Miniature Market. They have 2 stores here in the St. Louis area, which is where I am. Also, they have an online store, and these guys are awesome. They do a good job, and a lot of times you'll find like the Citadel paints and stuff cheaper than most places around. So definitely look them up. They have the Army Painter stuff there too. Yep. We've done the Pegasus on here. There's a video on the Valkyrie, and I've got a big old Galactica downstairs. Space and Above Beyond. I've got some files. I just haven't had a chance to try them yet. So, but the Phoenix needs to move. The Spirit of Fire keeps showing up tonight. Yeah, it keeps moving around here. So, all right. So, well, first off, I'm in preview mode. So, and I will apologize, guys. Keyboard's a little bit buggy on the MacBook. So, it will be a little sluggish while we do this. So, normal, mega. Okay. Alright, we got the CR10 build plate. I'm going to start loading the STLs on here. I see what they mean by normal. Yeah, we're not going to do that. Clear build plate. I'm going to do the mega files. Doop. Those are a bit better. Alright. Be quiet, mesh tools. Whew. Wait a minute. I'm looking at the wrong file. Ah, that's a Gundam. Oh, that's why it doesn't look right. Let me get these files unzipped. Oh, goodness. They have made a mistake on choosing the Mad Cat here. That one, anyway. So, one of my favorites is the Timberwolves. I love the Timberwolf mech. It is a good one. So, Dragon Raid, if you go look for the town models, Cults 3D is going to be your friend. Just putting that out there for you. Don't always trust that filament cost. And actually, I'll show you guys this. So, we brought up the Pegasus a little bit ago. So I'm going to bring this up here. This is my Creality CR10. And a project I want to move on to here is I love the little 13-inch Pegasus. That's the model standard size. Well, I got it in my mind the other day. You know what? I'm going to blow this up 300%. I found some really cool models for the guns and actual stuff like that. Amazon should be delivering Saturday or Sunday. I ordered magnets to actually put the guns on so I can put a ball bearing into the model, and that way I can stick the magnet with the gun on the ball bearing and actually pivot the guns around. So this print, total print time right now, the estimate is I think 13 days. And we've got 7 days left. It's going to be longer than 13 days because this has been going on for, I think I started this over a week ago. And I'm just kind of sitting there like, all right, I'm going to do this. I know this is 2.3 kilograms of filament. I've lost my mind here. But basically when this is done, it's going to be huge. Because the cool thing about the CR10 Max is the build plate is 18 inch by 18 inch by 27. So, I mean, I can go over 2 foot tall in this print. So this is going to be one print that's going to be a long-term thing that will pop up in the streams. We'll be doing a video on B5 back here. That's a relatively new print that I've done. And it is gorgeous for the level of detail. So we'll definitely be seeing more of that, but this is a very much current work in progress. So we will, hopefully get it printed. Because I took a risk and did what I tell you guys not to do, of putting all the pieces on there and printing at one time. Yeah, I don't do smart things sometimes. So let's get looking in here. My goodness. I don't know if I can slice. I don't. Ugh. Wish they would give me more info on the part names here. Okay, so we've got. Zoom it in here. All right, I'm gonna run a risk here, guys. Kira is welcome to crash when I do this. So we're going to let that run for a second. Actually, I've got chat even covered up. I can't see what you guys are saying. So Ken, it's one of those things, as you go on, prints, you get bolder and bolder and bolder. Now, one of the things, too, I'm going to say about my printers, they're all on computer battery backups. All of them. So if the power goes out, and I've got some pretty beefy ones on there, my printers can go for about 3 hours without power to the house. So that's one fail-safe. Two, if I get a power blip, it doesn't matter. The only thing that, to me, is going to go wrong is I'm going to have an actual printer failure, or the filament's going to break, or I'm actually going to have something clip and just start knocking into the other stuff. That's why I recommend staying with one part at a time if you can. I'm just being a little crazy right now. I've lost my mind. Okay, so there's actually like 4 mechs in here. Okay, this makes a little bit better sense. So, oh, Kira, you're being a pain. View, camera position, front. Thank you. So, looking at these canopies, you're gone. Come on. I know, I'm being so mean to you, computer. I'm being so mean to my computer right now. This is not my normal slicing machine, guys, just so you know. Usually I would be downstairs. I have a nice big Zydax with lots of RAM and all that kind of stuff, but my streaming computer up here is my MacBook. So at this desk, I stream from my painting desk. And stick around this week, guys, on Friday. If you guys saw the stream last week, I brought out the Ender 2 Pro and we put it together on stream. And you're gonna hear, I've used it for a week now. You're gonna hear my honest opinion about it. And it's gonna be, yeah, that comes out on this Friday. Next Friday will be the Super Star Destroyer video that we have been working on for a long time. Delete. And I'm going to delete that. That's actually kind of a cool canopy, but I think I'm going to delete it too. Delete. How many of these things are there? So I want to keep this one. There must have been a ton of these. Hang on. Yeah, there is. I want to keep the torso pin. This file is from Thingiverse. Just, you guys are not Thingiverse. This one came from, I don't want to get rid of legs. I'm getting rid of torso parts right now. Delete selected. Okay, that cleaned up the build quite a bit. Alright. You, come here. Oh, Custom support. Dur, dur, dur. Come on. So you guys can see we got the legs. We got, looks like the arms are sitting there. I'm trying to get some of these smaller pin pieces in here, which is going to destroy my world. So, me, multiple printers. So I do print and sell. So that's why I have multiple printers. But two, I love printing. And I hate... so originally I was printing, and I was printing a bunch of my wedding decorations. It's a wonderful story. I love this one. And I just wasn't getting it done fast enough. So I bought a second printer. And I got more done. And then I bought a third. And then I bought a fourth. And when I started the channel, I had 5. I didn't even have resin when I started the channel a year and a half ago. And I've just kept growing. Now, a lot of the printers that have been down there have been sent to me to do demos. The CR10s are where I did invest my money. The CR10 V2s specifically are where I invested money when I started this channel. I love the CR10 V2 or V3 if you want a direct drive extruder. That's really the only difference between the two. I just love the printers. And then I started getting into resin and all that craziness. And yeah, here I am with a shop full of 15 printers. So, and I have a very understanding wife that loves me very much and supports me in what I'm doing. So, she spoils me rotten. Yeah, the I want to get it done was a large root of it, and that's what got me the second printer. Because a lot of my projects, this would have taken a week for the 3 prints. I was done in, I think, a day and a half. I had all 3 prints done, thanks to multiple printers. So, now, Dragon Red, what exactly is wrong with your photon? Is it just, it's so finicky that you can't depend on it? So the Saturn has been on my radar for a while. I'm going to fully admit that. I've been looking at the Saturn. I've also been looking at VoxLab's Proxima. That is the same. That is the 8.9 build plate as well. I like the Proxima, the 6-inch that I have now. I've been looking at that 8.9, and honestly, the 8.9, they've got it out there for like $399, which is even cheaper than the Saturn. And the VoxLab putting it in my shop has just been a beast down there. I really enjoyed that. Ooh, I just noticed the time. So we've got about 15 minutes left in the stream, guys. The Z-axis motor is all that's wrong with it? That shouldn't be too bad of a repair. Other than you got to, open the printer up completely. I mean, it's better than what I had to do with the LCD. Oh my goodness. The LCD for the LCD, that hurt when I replaced it on the Photon Mono X. Huh. I'll have to look at that, because I thought you could get that off to fix it. Matter of fact, there's a video out there on how to fix it. It's just a little 3-minute video by Anycubic, actually, their support. That is one of the things, guys. Anycubic, I've heard just bad things about their support. when I had a warranty issue, yeah, it took them a bit of time, but they actually got me. They got me taken care of. I'm trying to look because it's just a standard stepper motor by the looks of it, which you can order those on Amazon. Matter of fact, some people are asking if there's an upgraded one for a quieter one, which is another one of the Photon Mono X. It is a little loud. The Proxima is louder though. The Saturn, I've been looking at it, kind of drooling. Sent a few emails to see if we could get one. Haven't gotten a reply back yet, but you know, one step at a time. But all right, I've got way too much on this build plate, so we're gonna have to tone this back. So I'm gonna clear it, and I gotta change my view here in my file. Okay, here we go. Because the file that I downloaded, and it'll be in the description tomorrow for you guys to be able to go get the same one. It's free out on Cults 3D. There are a lot you can do here with this guy. So kind of one of those things, there's a lot of options. So we're just going to pick some and go. Once my Cura, please come back. Clear build plate. Please come back. Once my Cura clears up here. So, and it's kind of one of those things, Dragon, I just can't give up on it. I'm one of those guys. It's a machine. It's in my care. It's either I fix it or I sell it. And hopefully someone else can figure out what I'm doing wrong. Haven't had a lot of that. There's been one Ender 3 that went out the door. Because why did I got the Ender 3 V2, and why did I need two Ender 3s? So I rarely send printers out at the door. Unless I've tried it and I'm sending it back to the manufacturer, like the Sunlu S8. That was so damaged I couldn't even use it. Couldn't even put it together. It was broken. All the stepper stops were broken. So it was quite disappointing. So we're gonna pick one torso. We're gonna pop it in here, and I picked a relatively blank one. That's all right. So there's a lot of detail on here. And actually the way it fell is the way I'm going to print it. We're going to come in and we're going to sure this guy up with some custom supports, especially that piece right there. And we'll put a few supports in a couple places. That way we know we get good build out and good plate adhesion. If you haven't seen custom support, it is a plugin up in the store. It works really, really well. And we'll use auto-generated supports for the rest. So let's go get some arms. We're going to choose left arm, option 7. Huh, I don't like that actually. Let's try left arm repaired. Not sure I like that. It's left arm option 2. Same thing. Okay. We'll delete that. We'll delete that. Now looking at this, I'm gonna support off the bottom again because I want the detail. So we got our left arm. Uh-oh. We need to get a waist. We need a torso pin. We're going to get a weapon. Wherever that went. We're going to get A few of those. Where are the legs? Oh, left leg. Left leg top. So there's the legs that'll go onto the waist. Where's the right legs? I feel like something is wrong with my file. QRS. That's fine. Actually, I'm going to teach you guys something here about some of the files. So sometimes they'll only have one side of it. Drives me nuts when I find this, but there's an awesome setting in Cura that we can deal with this problem. It's called mirroring. So I'm going to take this leg and I am going to go to mirror. So this is a little button right here. I'm going to mirror it and I can tell it which way to go. So I want to mirror that way. And it will actually turn it. So you can use the same piece and make two either legs. So mirroring is a great tool to use in these programs. So basically, I don't need a right leg. I can bring another left leg appendage in and do the hit and make the right legs. So basically, I've got my two legs right there to make my my bot. So it is a great little tool, and I gotta get rid of these boxes because they're gonna drive me insane, to make the legs. If you only have one side of the file, you can do it with two and just use the mirror one. So definitely, especially if you're doing something that's supposed to be like a curve, you can take the half piece, mirror it, and get the other half. So it is a great little function to use when you've got difficult parts in here that you're working with. Where's the other lower leg? So I need to mirror it. And you see there it shifted and became the mirror as well. And thank you, Kira, for being a pain. So basically we've got a lot of the mech there. Now we need the foot. So we'll grab that file and drag it in here. And wait for Kira to load. Is that the foot? Yep, that's the foot. And you'll do the same thing on with the foot. With this file, there is no rights for some reason. I don't know. So you'll just use the mirror method to create the opposite sides. So clean it up. But all in all, and if I were to take this file through, I have my stuff all automatically set to generate support. So we'll work on it that way, and it will ignore me. And we'll slice it through and kind of take a look how this works. I'm going to reslice it from my actual prints. And if you guys, do you guys want me to print one of these? And have it for next week, maybe? It might be the week after. But if you guys want me to actually print one of these, definitely let me know. I do intend on doing a video on it. So I'm going to print one. I just haven't decided which one I want to print. Because the Timberwolf is nice. What are the other ones I'm looking at? The Atlas has been on my list. The Mad Cat Mark II, the Hellbringer, and I've also been, the Huntsman just stands out to me right now as something fun to print. So I'm definitely kind of conflicted. The Huntsman, it just makes me think of a Jaeger from Pacific Rim. So that one kind of stands out to me that I kind of want to print that one, and there's not a lot on this one. When I print, it will be bigger, it will be better. Don't worry about that. We will have it looking great. You guys can see the supports. I don't have infill turned on right now. That's why they're orange. The parts would actually be completely hollow, and for this would be a very bad idea. because the structure would have a hard time supporting itself as it built up. But all in all, it doesn't look like it's going to be that hard of a print. Of course, you're seeing my raft down there at the bottom right now. So yeah, these are kind of cool, especially if you like mechs. Actually, here, I'll pull this up. I'll pull this up to where you guys can see it, hopefully. So this is the one I'm thinking about. I really like the Huntsman. I like the look of it. Makes me think of a Jaeger. These are all out on Colts 3D. They're free models. The Atlas, the Skull, I don't know, and then the Mad Cat Mark II is definitely interesting. And of course, what do we do on this channel when we go to print something? We print big. So it will be a big boy when I'm done with it. So we'll definitely give those a try. And as it comes down to it, guys, we are running out of time. So again, we stream every Tuesday, 8:15 Central Standard Time. New videos out every Friday, and sometimes we have intermittent streams out there where I'm just working on stuff and, you know, come hang out. So I do have a Patreon. If you guys want to help support the channel, go over there and go help out. Any support is very welcome and appreciated as we do stuff. And if there's a model you'd like to see me try to tackle, shoot me an email or leave me a comment down below. And guys, make sure when you're going through and you're watching a video or anything like that, even if you just leave a comment of hi and hit that like button, it is greatly appreciated and does help us out with the analytics. So kind of keep that in mind as we wind this one down for the night. Did kind of a lot tonight, talking about sprue goo and putting a tank back together. We put the Spirit to Fire together into one piece. Talked about printers. So did all kinds of fun stuff tonight. But kind of one of those things. It's definitely things that we are working on and getting things going. I'm going to switch back over to the other side here. But even this one has just been, it was a fun print. Each piece took about 1.5 days to 2 days to print, and it's just a lot of fun. So Ken, don't be fearful about printing long. So the printer is designed, a lot of the printers have thermal runaway, or the worst thing you're going to wind up is with a spaghetti or a goo ball, pretty much at this point. So don't worry about, you know, kick that fear. Get out there and get long prints going. As I forget to bring this camera back over to where we're working, because yeah, I do that sometimes. I forget. So all right, so kick that one out there. Actually, I'll bring this one forward because the video will be coming soon. In a few weeks, because even this was a lot of great detail for Babylon 5. I did have to do some filler, and I used the 3D printing pen. I got to clean up here where I attached the fins, but it is a really good model. And again, I can put it in the description, or when I release the actual video on this, the model will be out. It'll be in the description for those too. And all the tools that I use is all in the description. So yeah, the silicone hot end cover is great. Sometimes I've had it where the nozzle wasn't in all the way and it got between the silicone. But again, that's what the thermal runaway sensor is for. Almost every single 3D printer now these days have it to prevent it from catching fire or anything like that. The worst thing I run into anymore is a clogged nozzle or goo ball, which honestly, the clogged nozzle is kind of the worst of the two. The goo ball is a heat it up and pull it off, but the clogged nozzle is a lot more work. So, and it's one of those things, if you guys have that needle that they tell you shove it up in there to break up the clog, just get rid of it. My opinion of clogs is just replace your nozzle, pull your Bowden tube out. You may have to clip a piece off the end because the clog could actually be in the Bowden tube. Put it all back together and you should be golden. So kind of one of those helpful tips. Been trying to throw a whole bunch of tips out there tonight, so hopefully you guys found the information useful. I appreciate everybody showing up for tonight, and I think we're going to call this one done for the day. So hope to see you guys next stream, And hope to see you out in the videos. And if you haven't, give us a follow over on Instagram at Rise 3D Printing. And also, I think we've launched a few TikToks out there. If you guys can go out there and help us out there too, it would be greatly appreciated. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below with your question, or my email address is out on the community page. Shoot me an email. I tend to try to help out and get back there as well. So thank you guys, and I hope you have a good night.